It's been 1 year since Movie Bones launched its first episode, so it's time to party. In this bonus episode, we'll count down our best and worst film experiences of the year, list our favorite performers, fill in some empty spaces with our rating system, and share some extra content, including an unofficial Movie Bones review. So stay tuned until the end. And that's the fun we're having this week on Movie Bones. Hey, welcome, folks. It is the first year anniversary of Movie Bones. We have been on the air for 1 year, once a week, every week, just as reliably as clockwork, and that calls for a party. So I have my buddy Ryan here with me, as usual, and we have some fun planned for you guys. I have my drink in hand, too. I have a nice little bit of alcohol, and I don't know if you drink or not, but this is going to help me get, this is going to help party. I always have something to help me relax a little bit. So how's it go? So you ready for this, Ryan? You ready for all this?
I think I'm about as ready as I can be.
All right, man. So we have all the movies that we've been through the year. Let's start with the best pictures. What do you think? Let's try and guess them too. It's like, so what do you think for the audience out there? Let's like, if you were to try and guess my favorite films for the year, what would you think they are, and how do you think they're ranked?
Okay, so if I had to guess your best films, and looking at the films that we've watched, I am going to go in this order. I'm hoping that I'm looking at everything correctly. Your favorite film is definitely... Hold up. Your favorite film is definitely Seven Brides for Seven Brothers.
That hurts, man. That hurts.
No, I think that your favorite film... This is just me after we've talked about this. Well, not this particular thing extensively. I think your number one film, now everything else might come in to continue the order based on what I'm looking at right now, but I think your favorite film is Yojimbo.
It's on the list. Yeah, Yojimbo is on the list.
Yojimbo, Sanjuro.
They're on the list. Yes, actually, and for that, I will give you a little hint there because they're tied. That was the one tie. That's the only tie. Now, and it does, it's not number one, but.
Now, here's the confusing thing about you, because, like I said, I am looking at the list here. Mm-hmm. And you can make an argument that some of your favorite films, because we're talking about favorite films, right?
Yeah, this is our top of the list, top of the A-line.
Well, when I say that, because I think you can make an argument that a couple of the Nuke of the Fridges could be in your top list.
They did not make it, though. They did not.
Okay. So. All right. So, Yojimbo, Sanjuro, Throne of Blood.
That's not
Throne of Blood?
Nope, not on Throne of Blood, no.
Sunset Boulevard.
That is definitely on the list.
All right, we have three. Okay, so Yojimbo, Sanjuro, Throne of Blood.
Oh, Throne of Blood is not, no.
Oh, I thought you said Throne of Blood was on the list.
No, that one's not.
Okay. I did say Sunset Boulevard.
You did.
Okay, so that's three. That's the three. I was going to say Throne of Blood next. All right, so Yojimbo, Sanjuro, Sunset Boulevard, A Face in the Crowd.
Yes, you got it. So far.
And then finally, Of Mice and Men.
Actually, no, that was close. That was close.
All right, then let's do another.
Actually, it wasn't close, but it was. It's not that one. But go ahead. You're going to do another what?
Another Preston piece. To Kill a Mockingbird.
I shouldn't have said close. Actually, it's not really close at all. It's actually no. It's To Kill a Mockingbird is on it. Yes. Remember, there's two of them were tied. Two of them were tied.
They were tied. They were two tied. All right. Did I say Face in the Crowd already?
You did. Yes.
All right. So that's...
I had to think about this one. The fifth one is actually one of the hardest ones for me.
The Man Who Would Be King.
You got it, man. You nailed it, man. And that's a lot of pressure for me now. I see, I got to guess yours. And I'm like, I at least have Audrey Hepburn and Ingrid Bergman helping me out, I think. But I'm going to try. That was pretty good though, man. That's awesome. Good job, man. It's like I feel seen. Okay, man. Well, I'm gonna say definitely Sunset Boulevard's on your favorites too.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
it's gotta be. Um I gotta throw in there's gotta be like Audrey Hepburn, Ingrid Bergman. And let's see. Is Roman Holiday on the list?
Yeah, I'd put Roman Holiday on that list.
Okay, okay. So this is top 5 now. Okay.
Yeah. So we've got Sunset, we've got Roman Holiday.
Yes. Let's see. We've got Wait Until Dark?
Actually, no.
No. Okay.
That one scene, though.
Yeah, jump out at you, man. Okay, so not that one. Let's see. Notorious.
Yeah, I like Notorious. Everything.
Okay.
You know what I thought we have done, but I guess we haven't. Looking at our list, I honestly thought we had done. Oh my goodness! It's one of the most famous movies of all time.
Casablanca?
I thought we've done Casablanca.
We haven't. No, I don't know. I'm not sure if it's available on Tubi or not, or if
I
it's
don't know if it
available
is either.
for free.
That would have been on my list, by the way. Casablanca, folks.
Okay.
All right, so we've got an Ingrid Bergman film out of the way. We've got a Audrey Hepburn film out the way. We've got a Sunset Boulevard film out the way.
Yeah. So let's see. I know you're really keen on the Maltese Falcon, so I'm going to say the Maltese Falcon.
Actually, no.
I am shocked.
No, yeah. There's one film on here. Now I do like that film, but there's 2 films on here. One, I'm going to give you a hint. One I've already mentioned. The other one is a film, I would say, adjacent in a way that it's in the same area that it's filmed. I don't want to say any more than the same area because I feel like that gives it way too away.
Oh, like I feel like I haven't gotten anything so far, but let's see. In the area of in relationship to what though? In terms of like
a place,
like
a place that people live.
that helps a whole lot. And yeah. All right. So like, because they were all filmed on planet Earth. I mean, some of them weren't set there, I suppose. But I doubt there are any of those that are on your list. Top Copy?
Mm-mm.
I just don't see that one being. No, it couldn't be. No, I retract that one. That's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous thing. Man, a place. Our Man in Havana. You like that? No?
I did like that one, but no, not that one.
Okay.
I say place that people live, a place across the ocean.
Okay. It's going to be probably one of your Fortune and Glories, I imagine.
Yeah, it's absolutely going to be one of my Fortune and Glories.
Let's see. Overseas. Well, Man of La Mancha would be overseas. Man of La Mancha?
You're going to kick yourself.
Oh, no. Okay. Gojira.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay. Finally.
Yeah. That's why I didn't want to say, like, it's in a different location. Because if I said Japan.
Oh, but it's still like 3 of them, but it's still like counts for 3 or 4 of them. But it's like, but thinking about it, it's like, oh, man. Of course it's that one. I remember I had to remember how much you were talking about it.
Yeah, and then the last one, I've already mentioned the last one. I said it in yours.
Okay. It was one that I was on my list too. Facing the crowd.
Yeah, it is. No, not that one.
No.
It was on your list, though. Pretty sure it was on your list. I'm pretty sure you just said it.
Man Who Would Be King?
Mm-mm.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
Exactly.
There you go. All right.
That is absolutely one of my favorite movies of all time. And one of my favorite books of all time. In fact, spoiler alert out there for you people who listen and love this to your cores. If we, if my wife and I have another kid, and it's a girl, that is, her name is going to be Harper, which is the author's name of the book. Because we, like I said, we really do love this movie and this book.
That's sweet, man. That's great. And you don't see too many Harpers around either. So that's,
I know.
That'd be, that's a great name. So that covers. So did I get all 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all 5. I don't have any ties.
I'm when it comes down to saying, it's like, is it one of them is equal to the other one, and I like them both the same. You know.
I get that. I mean, and like yeah, I get what you're saying because yeah, they're just that good. Like I would probably have them close to my top 10. Like if we did a top 10, they'd be in top 10.
Yeah, yeah,
Or at least Yojimbo would be in the top 10.
yeah.
But I like Sanjuro just as much. So
I like them both, and I could watch them just as much as one as much as the other. I found the same thing to be true. So, yeah, I don't know how to score that round. I mean, I think we both did pretty good. You had some earlier misses and really started to catch up after a bit, and I just kind of scattershotted my way through it. So,
you ever watch the show Whose Line Is It Anyways?
yes, I have.
Or they say that everything something and the points don't matter.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're doing.
What do we give for it?
Yeah, I give you 20 points just for
I give you 1,000 points.
This reminded me of something me and my wife do. Did you do anything like this? It's like we when we go to the store sometimes, like at Dillon's or something, and we get to this part where the candles are. All the candles. There's a whole row of candles in different smells, and we'll like test each other. It's like, okay, what's this one? You just have to close your eyes and you have to smell it. And it's like, what's this one? And we try to be nice to each other because it's like if you pick Morning Breeze, it's like no one's going to get that. And that's like half of them. So you have to find something that still has an identifiable smell to it. But we end up scoring each other this way too. And it's like, so we each, it's a fun thing. It's another game like that. It's like the points don't matter, but it's very fun. Hey, folks out there, I do recommend it. If you have a girlfriend, a boyfriend, girlfriend, a significant other, spouse, whatever, try it. It's a fun game. And just open up your senses a bit. That is, unless you're allergic to, the stuff that's in those things, because they can be pretty strong too. Anyway, that was a good list, by the way, too. Those are good picks. If I expanded mine to 10, it would include some others, like probably like Gojira and that as well. So now about the worst ones. Here's where we get to the worst ones. I know you're going to get my worst.
Well, yeah, the worst one is, it says it on here, folks. It says, kill it with fire. It's Seven Brides for Seven Brothers.
Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. That one has a particular hatred for me, and that's probably not going to change. I hope I never have to. I hope I never have to use that rating again, because I will have to. If we do, it means I've suffered a lot.
Yeah. So this one's I think this one's going to be trickier because, again, I go back to, sometimes Nuke the Fridge, you've said that you like some of those bad type of movies. Like I'm looking at your list here, and like you've got like The Terror, for instance. It says Nuke the Fridge, but it says in a museum.
Yeah,
so that means you would watch it again
and
everything. Yes. So like we have to discern, because we have to discern between Don't Look at It and maybe even Bad Dates. That's really what we're dealing with here, in my opinion.
Don't look at it. Yeah.
If I had to guess, so I'm going to go with the Don't Look at It crew. The first or the next one after Seven Brides for Seven Brothers is The Mark of Zorro.
Let's see. I think I did have that one, but I'm trying to see where it is what number. Oh, let's see. Yeah, there it is. They're 28. It was close, but no, it's not on the list.
Wow. All right. Ocean's 11.
That one is on the list. That was my number 4, actually.
Fast and the Furious.
I'm trying to look at my list now, because I don't have them memorized. I kind of did this a few days ago. So it's like, and by the way, folks, I'm drinking, so not the best. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed right now. Let's see. Where is that? What numbered movie was that?
Oh, Fast and Furious. That's 35.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. Yeah, that was my number 3. That's my number 3. Yeah.
So we have Ocean's 11. Well, we have Ocean's 11, Fast and Furious, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. All right, we got 2 more.
Yeah, and Ocean's 11, just to go back to that for a moment, Ocean's 11, that has to be one of the most paint drying on the wall kind of movies I think I've ever watched in my life.
I do remember kind of sitting there going, I wanted to get just a little bit more. Like, that's a movie that needs, like, this day and age. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it needs a better pace.
Yeah, and action. A little bit more action. All right, so... Let's go with I know where I'm going.
That was number 5. That was my 5th least favorite film. You're doing a really awesome job, dude. You're putting the screws on me.
And then I gotta say it. I think Blondie.
Man, yes, that was my second worst. And because, I mean, even if you just hear even just listening when I was editing that show, even when I was editing the show, listening to that stupid opening that they have for it, it was grating. It was like a cheese grater on my ears. Okay. It drove me absolutely nuts. And I think I even said in the review, is like the only way you have to be partly masochistic to want to do this kind of movie as even to rip it apart kind of a thing. You kind of have to be masochistic. And desperate and desperate for material. But man alive, if it was ever bad. Yeah. So we've got, I think you've got.
Yeah, it's 5.
Did you, I know where I'm going. You said know where I'm going, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You got them, man. You got almost all of them. Like, so, okay. Now how am I going to do this? Because I'm going to see what yours are here. It's going to be a don't look at it, obviously.
Yeah.
That includes Black Sleep, which I'm not saying that's yours. I'm just kind of like making a note of it,
Mm-hmm.
Copy that form. I'm just going to do this so I can keep track of. All right. So I've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Don't look at it's from you. I think that sounds about right, I guess. So we got like, okay, let's see. It's The Black Sleep.
Yeah, that's definitely like up there.
Okay.
I think that movie made me mad.
I remember it was. I mean, I had more fun out of it than you did. I think, and
yeah,
and then it specifically with some of I had some laugh out loud moments that made it worthwhile for me. But yeah, it was totally a bad movie. I'm not going to say anyone's like wrong for putting that in their worst list or something. So let's see what else we got here. You also said, I know where I'm going was Don't Look at It, so I'm going to guess that.
Yeah, that's one of them, and that one's because. Again, if I wanted to watch a movie like that, I'm watching a Hallmark movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'd put that one like closer to the top. Like if if it went, basically if we went all in order, that would be like closer to, so I'd say like 5. It's not the worst thing in the world and everything. And I thought some of the parts were redeemable, but ultimately, no. Like I don't want to watch that movie ever again.
No, I can't blame you there, man. Let's see. War Between the Planets. Now, I got some fun out of that, but...
No.
Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, this is a boring movie.
For the title being so action-oriented, and of course everyone knows it for what the associations have with the modern films, you would expect a little bit more actual stuff happening,
Yeah, and like the plot didn't make any sense. Like the whole, you can't drive, but you can drive. Like, and then that whole scene... where they're in like they're in that shed in the fire. It was just like,
yeah.
Like it was, well, why is this a thing?
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's 3 or 2.
I think that's 3. Don't count on my ability to perceive things well right now.
Okay.
Let's see. The Mark of Zorro was another one.
Yeah, super boring movie.
Yeah. And full of stereotypes and kind of relies on them too heavily.
Mm-hmm.
And Blondie, I think.
Actually, no. I think Blondie. My saving grace for Blondie is the fact that it was a TV show, and like I think that's what they wanted it to be the whole entire time. Just like one of those specials, like take it home. Like basically what would be in the dollar bin now.
Yeah.
So I gave it its. While I would never watch it again. Like there's more of it. Maybe people will enjoy it and everything.
I see what you mean. Okay. It's not much of a difference between us on that one. It's pretty close to the bottom. So I can understand that. But it's like, so let's see. We have the only other one I think you did was Mysterious Island.
Yeah. That
movie. that one. And I remember it's like, what was it in that movie? It's like, I'm trying to remember details. It was so far back now. And it's one of those things that's a whole bunch. Yeah.
One of those things about that movie was how they built it or how they did the poster. And then like, that was just like one scene of the movie. And it didn't really even matter because it was just a bee.
I remember the crab.
Yeah.
And that they ate the crab. And it's like, and life was actually not too hard for them. I remember there was not too much in the way of difficulty they actually encountered until they run into Captain Nemo. And that's more of the island's going to blow up kind of a thing, a ticking clock. But until then, it's kind of like, well, there's not really much conflict here, is there? But yeah, that was really bad. And even as B movies go, it wasn't even fun in that way, too. It's like, so if you're going to be bad, you got to be bad and own it, just own the bad. And it didn't. So yeah. we came up with our rating system a little bit late, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, that left a bit of a hole in our system. So I was thinking maybe we might want to fix that. What do you think?
Yeah, sure. I mean, like we're looking at the movies now. Believe it or not, all these movies have a watch it again value to them.
Yeah, none of them. I found that none of them were going to be like as it don't look at it, or certainly not kill it with fire or something like that. They were all worthy in some way, from The Man Who Would Be King all the way up to Metropolis, I think.
Yeah. So I must. I'll start with I'll start with The Man Who Would Be King. I really think the first. I'll go with the first three at least. The Man Who Would Be King, Roman Holiday, and The Body Snatcher. I think they're all Fortune and Glory.
Okay. Wow. Okay. I mean,
Yeah,
the
because
first,
the man
yeah,
who would the man who would be king has just got such phenomenal performances by Michael
Michael
Caine,
Caine. Yeah.
Michael Caine and Sean Connery. Like it's just chef's kiss. And Roman Holiday again. That's phenomenal for performances by Audrey Hepburn and Gregory Peck. And then The Body Snatcher is just it's such a dark film for the time. It's such a good what does it mean to be human, really, kind of story. And so I think all three of those movies are definitely a Fortune and Glory, in my opinion.
I love the moral dilemmas it poses because,
Mm-hmm.
well, like I said, the moral dilemmas, even though it's talking about some things related to like medical ethics of the time, medical ethics is a thing that continues on into the day today. So, like, I can understand, like, it's still being relevant that way. And I love Boris Karloff in that. To me, that's one of his. No, I mean, I love Boris Karloff in anything. It's a weird kind of way I'm going to compare your version of Audrey Hepburn with my understanding of Boris Karloff here, because Boris Karloff for me is like if you put him in anything, I'm going to enjoy at least his part of it, and he's going to knock out of the park, at least in that sense. Even if the movie itself is rubbish. In this case, the movie is not rubbish. The movie is actually a good movie with some pretty good theming too. But as far as theming goes, yeah, The Man Who Would Be King for me is like, that's definitely, I mean, it's one of my top five. So, but yeah, The Man Who Would Be King is Fortune and Glory for me all the way. The other two that you mentioned, those are solid trust me's. They didn't quite achieve like that level I'm looking for repeat viewing, but still they're up there. They're very much up there. So yeah,
Yeah.
that one. The Maltese Falcon, you and I, that was our first very kind of not, that was our first divergence, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In terms of at least big divergence.
Yeah. I'll say that it's somewhere between Fortune and Glory and Trust Me. Trust
Yeah,
Me is the second highest rated, right?
Yeah, Fortune and Glory, Trust Me are the two top ones. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like nestled in between that because, like, I understand noir is not for everybody. And also, the character that Humphrey Bogart plays in that film has been redone in different ways at different times. And also, I think it's one of the better noir films out there. So yeah, that's for me. It's definitely nestled in between Fortune and Glory and Trust Me.
And I gave it Bad Dates. It's that kind of that Mary Sue thing where it's like everything just goes. It's like he says a thing and it makes it happen. I just don't think I ever could get past that. I mean, it's a stylistic choice. I kind of
Yeah.
get it, but at the same time, I just don't think it's a stylistic choice for me. It was consistent, so it's not like it's an error on the movie maker's part. And the same director, I should say, it's kind of funny because the same director is the one I think who directed The Man Who Would Be King later on, like 20 years later or something like that. And I love that movie. And I just don't think whatever he was going for in The Maltese Falcon it wasn't something that was working for me. But yeah, as for let's see, we have Wait Until Dark. For me, that came down to a Trust Me for me. How about you?
I think Trust Me is a good one for that one as well. Audrey Hepburn gives a phenomenal performance, but that movie I think is a bit of a required taste in some aspects because you have to be prepared for those creepy elements of the film.
Uh-huh.
So, and by creepy, like those unsettling parts of the film, it's high anxiety if you're not prepared. It's not like the highest anxiety in the world, but it's a high anxiety film. So, yeah, Trust Me over Fortune and Glory just because it's going to be a required taste for the people.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna, not everybody would love a film like that just because it will get your anxiety going.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, one of the criteria, I'm just looking over some of my my favorite films. And I think one of the things that pushes something into a Fortune and Glory film for me is definitely like the theming. I think you can do a genre film and do it and nail it awesomely. But if you have a genre film, it is very much a suspense film. We're talking about Wait Until Dark is very much a suspense film. It's very high on what I would call suspense film spectrum. It's almost like it's in the rarefied field even. It's like, I think it's really one of the best of its kind. But at the same time, it's still just a suspense film. It never actually has anything bigger to say about it than the suspense itself. And that's not a bad thing, folks. That's not a bad thing. It just means that it's kind of limited for me in that I reserve the biggest ones for the ones that have something deeper to say. And that's kind of where we're going. Like with that for me, that's when I say a Fortune and Glory film as I look through my stuff. And actually, maybe that's not even true because I put Sanjuro in there too. And I don't know if I'm consistent, folks. Maybe I'm not going to be consistent. I'll say this. One of the things that pushes the movie into the Fortune and Glory category for me, and it's a very strong factor, is if there's strong theming. And actually, thinking about it, maybe there is some strong theming in Sanjuro. Maybe I'm not contradicting myself. Anyway. I should drink all the time when we do these episodes. I'm kind of learning that. It loosens my tongue. You know what I'm saying?
It would be hilarious.
Do you drink?
No, not that often.
No, okay.
I actually live in a dry county.
Oh, what a handicap.
Yeah, I know. And I'm too lazy to go get other stuff because I probably would get some stuff out there. In fact, I plan on doing that eventually, like getting my wife some wine, but I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah. Oh, let's see what we're up to here. Let's see. So next we have Lavender Hill Mob, and go ahead. You go first on this one.
I would say I think that's a funny enough movie to give me a trust me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one where they make the Eiffel Towers, right?
Yes, they cast the gold they stole into the Eiffel Towers. I like that. Yeah.
Trust me. Maybe maybe that one's more nestled into Fortune and Glory. Like I remember talking about some of the acting was funny movie. The acting was really good. The great Alec Guinness is in that. There's quite a few locations that were bombed before the making of this movie. And I remember talking about that. So yeah, I definitely think that one's somewhere between Fortune and Glory and Trust Me as well.
When I kind of try to resolve these unanswered questions in the early part of our Movie Bones history, that maybe I was a little too quick with it, and I started with it in a museum. But when we're talking about it again, I think that's one of the great things about you and I talking about these things together is that, and it has happened before too, where we've actually elevated or changed each other's opinion while we're talking about it, and actually can change our review a bit. So I think that's totally a trust me now. Yeah, that could be totally a trust me. Alec Guinness kind of elevates whatever he's into. That's one of the things he and Boris Karloff, I'm going to put them in the same category, strangely enough. But yeah, he just can elevate things. And I had fun watching him in that. And now Metropolis is a difficult one. It comes out in a museum for me.
Yeah, same. Yeah. I don't think, okay, so in a museum, why I'm not a fan of the cut that we watched. No, it was never it was a silent film. So we didn't, the track was just the same track throughout the film.
There was a problem.
I would say, yeah, it was a problem for us. If you find a different cut of it, that's, I encourage you to watch a different cut. It's really long.
It is. It's very long.
For a silent film, it's a pretty long film. The beautiful things about this film, though, is, again, we're kind of like, it's a film kind of stuck in time, because that's right before the rise of Nazism. Or, well, it's during, but right before the rise of Nazism. And some of the themes, or some of the themes of that film, even if they were it feels like they were anti-Nazi, they still influenced, like the Nazis did like that. And the writer of that film herself wound up being
he ran away to the United States and basically disavowed it.
That's the director.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
His wife was the writer.
It's very influential. It's highly influential. Yeah.
The robot man goes on to influence George Lucas.
Yeah.
Into C-3PO. So, there's just so much that's about the movie. It belongs in a museum. I would watch it once. I would actually say that I'd watch it at least once in my life, especially if I'm a film buff. And I'm glad that we did.
Yeah. I'll probably watch it at least one more time. And maybe more than that, possibly, but at least one more time, I think, for me.
If I could find a different cut of it, I'd probably watch it again. We actually have another film that we don't have a rating for, and that's the 39 Steps.
That's true, yes. So, yeah. It did not, the 39 Steps for me, it didn't land at the bottom, but it was definitely, it was just, it falls into certain tropes in terms of conspiracy type films, that it's the whole conspiracy thing as a whole. I don't think I'd want to watch it again. I'm not sorry I did, though. I think at least for once, I don't think it was, for a one-time viewing, it was not that bad.
I think I'm going to give it a bad dates.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because, I like the film well enough, but this film has been redone so many times. You might just find a better version of this movie.
Yeah. I mean,
and who knows? It could be redone again in the future. But there's 3 or 4 different versions of this film. At least I think, maybe 2 or 3. But still, there's other versions of this film. Go watch those.
I don't know if any of those other films fall into our purview of in terms of the time frame or whatnot, or if we'll ever see them on Tubi or something. If we ever did, maybe it'd be a point of comparison at least. But anyway, yeah, I think that catches us up. So that's pretty good. Yeah, we can fill in that, and we can move forward in the next year. However long Movie Bones goes, we can say that at least we are complete about this. So, in any case, yeah. So let's talk about actors and actresses. Do you want to do guessing, or do you want to just go ahead and list them?
Oh, when are you going to go ahead and list them?
Okay. So why don't you go first? You tell me, give me your top 5 actors and performances,
right,
from the movies that they're in.
Okay. So I'm going to give Gregory Peck twice. I thought he was great in Roman Holiday, and obviously To Kill a Mockingbird. To Kill a Mockingbird is the quintessential Gregory Peck film.
Okay. Yes, it is.
I want to make that very, very clear. So again, I am not good with remembering names, so we're going to be a little bit. We're gonna
we'll be forgiving. We'll be forgiving.
We're gonna forgive me here.
Yes, we will.
But Gregory Peck in that, Alec Guinness in both the movies he was in all honesty. Actually, no, have we watched 3 or 2?
I do believe it's 3, I think.
You know what? I'm just going to say Alec Guinness. In all 3 of the movies, I said he was phenomenal in them. Because he did Father Brown.
Yeah.
Father Brown, Our Man in Havana, and Lavender Hill Mob. Yeah. So, he was phenomenal in all 3 of those movies. And then, I've already said it, Michael Caine and Sean Connery.
Okay.
In The Man Who Would Be King. They were just phenomenal.
I wanted to include them in it. I really wanted to. It's I thought about it really hard. And, if you ask me again on Tuesday, I may have included them in my list. You never know.
Yeah, I get it.
It's that good.
And I'm gonna give 2 more.
Okay.
Again, guy who plays Yojimbo.
Yes. Toshiro Mifune. Mifune.
Because he plays pretty serious or serious enough in one film, and then more of a goofball type in the other one. Not goofball as in slapstick, but he plays more comedy in the other one.
Yeah,
and both are the same. It's the same character. So there you go. And then the guy who plays in The Man Who Laughs.
Andy Griffith.
No.
Sorry. Oh, really? Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Drinking, folks. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I can't think of his
actually,
name.
I'm going to give that a tie. Yeah, Andy Griffith as well, because Andy Griffith played. Is not, because I remember us talking about that. I was like, he goes from this character who is the worst to Andy Griffith.
Well, Andy Griffith, yeah. His biggest persona is basically his own name.
And I also give it to the guy who plays in The Man Who Laughs, because I felt like we could see his expressions truly on film, and it's a silent film, and I got to give silent films some love.
Yeah, and I look, I appreciate that definitely. I didn't include him on my list, but he could be on a top. He would certainly be in a top 10 list, I think, for sure. I think at least I considered him when I was going over the list. Yeah, he was really good. But the funny thing is, I can't even remember his name right now.
Yeah, that's what I said. Is
Talk about unsung heroes, though. It's but what you said about Toshiro Mifune is one of my top 5. And if I was to try and narrow it down to one performance we've seen him in so far, Throne of Blood would probably be it. But still, it's I trying to compare that to Sanjuro and to Yojimbo. It's really hard to do. But he, as an actor, it's hard to imagine why he hasn't have his name bandied about more. I know if you're a film nerd, and I think we're becoming film nerds if we haven't been already. It's then yeah, definitely. If you're a film nerd, you probably have heard his name mentioned a lot. But Toshiro Mifune, definitely, he's one of my top 5. Alec Guinness is also one of my 5. He's been in obviously a number of the films, but I think especially in Our Man in Havana, it required him to do more stretching in 2 different directions because it's a comedy and it's a drama together. Whereas some of the other films like, Lavender Hill Mob is more purely comedic, which is great, but it really shows his range, in that film. And I really appreciated what he was doing in that film. So yeah, that was another one. Andy Griffith, like we talked about, that was another one. A Face in the Crowd, that movie. And then I said it, I think during the review too, that movie was definitely one, that's what I was hoping for when we started this podcast. That's the kind of movie I wanted to find.
Yeah.
And that to me, that it had to make my top 5 for that reason alone. It's getting up in that rarefied field, So
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. And I don't know if you might guess this last one, but my last one is actually Sidney Poitier as Detective Virgil Tibbs in The Heat of the Night.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one. His intensity always got to me. So that was the reason for that. And he's really so good at what he does. It's a shame he wasn't in more films over the years. But I always appreciate his presence, Now, what's your criteria restricted, actresses one?
All right, so my actresses are Claudette Colbert, who is in It Happened One Night.
Okay.
I liked her character, even though her character was like the way she did that role I thought was really good. I'm going to get all these people's names right on this one. Gloria Swanson.
Yes.
Hands down. Yeah, you cannot. You don't have Sunset Boulevard without Gloria Swanson.
Can I edit my list?
I think you can. I mean,
I'm gonna type this in, Gloria.
The points don't matter.
I love it. Okay, yeah.
I'm gonna give our second lead in The Face in the Crowd, Patricia Neal.
You know what? Yeah, I mean, I did that too.
She did such a great job in that film. That's what we've got: Claudette Colbert, Gloria Swanson, Patricia Neal, and then I'm having to relook through all my stuff because I forget that I can't say the people that
I had to think about this one a long time because, and I found it easier with the men than the women because I don't know if it's just because Hollywood or if it's because of our, maybe, if we have an internal bias, but
a bit Hollywood and everything. And there's some films that I feel like, I guess we haven't talked about that I would have put on here if we had talked about them, but I realized we have not talked about them.
Uh-huh.
And I said, I'm going to just give a disclaimer. Before we started doing this podcast, folks, one of the ways this came about was I was telling Justin one day, because we were talking all the time, and Son was like, I'm trying to go through all these older films. And, so I was watching them and everything. And then there's been some times because we've talked about them, but we haven't talked about them on the podcast format. So, there's some films that I keep thinking I thought we talked about that, but we did not talk about them and everything. But yeah, so I'm going to go with that. Yeah, the women, I guess, are harder because just, we have a lot of male centric films.
Yeah. It is
and everything.
It is a thing.
And then maybe we've watched some of the actresses who've been in our films more than once. I just was looking at her name. Lady that plays in Man of La Mancha.
Sophia Loren.
That's it. Sophia Loren.
All right.
I liked her in that movie. I thought she was because she does a good job of because she plays two characters in that film.
Yeah.
I mean, they all do, but she plays a good, I'm broken because they're in where they're at. And then she also plays a good other version of herself in that movie as well.
Yeah.
And then there's some characters who I just don't like, but I thought that their acting was good. And so I don't remember her name, but the lady, the mother-in-law, and It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World.
Oh, yeah.
She made me hate her.
Ethel Merman.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even though I did not like those characters, Jane Fonda? Fonda?
I don't think we've seen a movie with Jane Fonda in it.
Okay, the Queen Bee movie.
Oh, talking about Joan Crawford.
Joan Crawford, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Joan Crawford. I did not like either one of her characters in Queen Bee and in the other movie that we watched with her in it, but I thought she did a really good job. You know what I mean?
That's fair enough.
I didn't like the characters themselves, but I did like her acting. Mm-hmm. I thought her acting was amazing.
Yeah.
So, she's not like my personal preference, but she does put the person on the screen
I think
very well.
for me, it's like, when it comes to Joan Crawford, I think I've seen, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Have you seen that one? Have you seen?
No, I don't think I have.
Okay, because I have seen that one, and maybe we'll get a chance to watch that one. To me, that's my favorite Joan Crawford movie because I think it takes advantage of her natural inclination to kind of give a little bit more than it's probably good for the role, and it's more intense than it needs to be, and it gives off a very kind of almost Sunset Boulevard, Norma Desmond type of feel to it for me. And that's a personal thing. I'm not saying it's an absolute, but for her in that movie with Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, it made the most sense. It's almost kind of like, you find the actor whose thing you don't like until it's put into a theme or an idea or a plot that makes a lot more sense for that kind of a thing to be. And then all of a sudden everything makes sense. And that, for me, that was that movie. If we ever get to watch it, that'd be a good one. So we'll keep that in mind. You remember that, Nina. Remember that one.
Okay.
Okay. Now, for my list, I think I had 5, but you helped me add Gloria Swanson to that. So let's take it for granted. Gloria Swanson's on my list now. I actually said Doris Day was one of mine in Please Don't Eat the Daisies. I thought
that's a good one.
Yeah, I really liked her naturalness of how easily she had this very easy way of kind of delivering an overburdened but still keeping your wits about you kind of feeling to you. I like how we're helping each other remember things too. Brenda Dabanzi from Hobson's Choice, she played Maggie. I like the what she did with the strength of her character. I thought there was some nice subtlety in the performance and also in the script too, but she really brought that out. Janet Margolin as Lisa from David and Lisa. Do you remember David and Lisa?
Yes, I thought about that one. Even though she was a lead in that film, I didn't feel like she was enough of a lead in that film. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I can understand that, yeah.
I felt like we focused more on David than we did Lisa.
Yeah, it is mostly his story, yeah. So it depends how wide you want to cast your net in thinking about these things, basically, yeah. I cast a little further in that case, and this might be a surprise to people, but and let me first of all let's cover the one the other one that we both had in common was Patricia Neal as In the Face in the Crowd. That one, that movie, just all around just knocked my socks off for a whole bunch of reasons, but her performance was key to that too. I'm not going to add Walter Matthau, but I just want to mention that's also my favorite Walter Matthau film too, so far at least. But this one, the last one here, might be a surprise. I'm going with Lucille Ball as Sandra Carpenter in Lured.
Yeah, I get that.
And I don't fault her for the writing that let her down because I gave that movie like a bad date. It was our first it was our first reviewed film, and I gave it bad dates. I don't want to see it again. But at the same time, one of the things that I could say that I'm not sorry for having watched it for, if not only the only thing, is the first 2/3 of the film where she's playing this really great character until the script ruins it. I don't blame her for that. So, but Lucille Ball is going to be my last one there. So yeah. Okay. Oh, I think that's a good round out for the acting department. So, do you have a category you want to spring on me? Do you have a little questionnaire for me about put me on the spot?
Okay. I've got my 3 categories. I've got actually a couple of rewards categories here.
Okay.
The first one was movies that would be hilarious if it were a musical.
Oh my goodness. Okay. You've already outdone me in theming, man. You've outdone me in the concept alone. Oh man, I should have had a drink before I came up with these ideas. I was thinking too strictly about this. I need to loosen my brain some more. You know what I mean, folks?
Yeah. All right. Now, one of these is actually, you know what? I'm going to give all 4 of these their due. I did with this one. I did an awards category. I did like we did, like what they would do with the Oscars and everything. I gave 4 out, but these are my 4 picks. Animal Farm.
Oh goodness!
This one just for the sheer funniness of the idea of it, and honestly, I could see it in a weird way. In today's age, I want to make that very clear. This one's got to be very, very, very clearly. This one would have to be in today's age. Metropolis.
Oh man.
One that I actually think would legitimately have worked as a musical. Maybe you could even say it has musical elements to it. The Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
That actually makes more sense. It makes more logical sense. It's not just a funny for ha-ha sake, you know?
Yeah, and then the last one was the 39 Steps. Because that one was just so...
So let me see if I can pick a few out here. I'm going to try and go for 5 because 5 is a nice, good number, I think. I don't think anything as Nuke the Fridge applies here for me because it's already funny on its own. You don't have to try and go into opposite day with Nuke the Fridges anyway. Yeah, Metropolis was good. That was a good one. I could probably pick 20 of these and I'd be spot on. That's the hard part about this. The Body Snatcher. Thinking of the Body Snatcher as a musical, as a Broadway musical, just kind of like I almost want to put it in the same category as like Sweeney Todd. I haven't ever seen Sweeney Todd. I've never seen it, but I know it combines that same element of dark, macabre with the musical aspect. So it might actually kind of come out good. You never know. I'm not saying just because it's thematically or it's like the tonally it's so opposite that's got to be it's funny. But I think who knows? It could be serious or it could be a hilarious flop. Who knows? Let's see here. Looking through the list. Just try to think. If they made Seven Brides for Seven Brothers into a musical that worked, that would be a miracle. I want to see Gojira the musical. I want to see Godzilla dancing.
That's something that I could actually see Hollywood doing. Or not Hollywood, but Broadway doing.
So if you're listening Broadway, take our advice. You're going to have gold
Take
right
our
there.
Advice and then give us the money for that
Give
advice.
us the money. We need it. We need it. Really, we do.
We deserve it.
We deserve it. Yeah, there you go. Let's see here. That's 2. I don't want to do anything too serious like in the heat of the night. That seems disrespectful.
Yeah.
It seems pretty bad. It's like turning, was it To Kill a Mockingbird into a musical? That's just wrong. I think it should be probably a crime at that point. I want to kind of say that, Dante's Inferno, there's some humor to be had there.
Yeah.
I think a Mel Brooks film, I think actually Mel Brooks would do something nice with that if he was younger and still in his filmmaking days, But so I'll say Dante's Inferno is my third choice. Oh, man. Okay, The Mark of Zorro. It's Don't Look at It. It's not. So that counts, But The Mark of Zorro. I think anything to make that would make that film better, and I think even making that a musical would make it better. That's 4. And let's see here. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and say it. It's The Fast and the Furious. Put that in your brain, internet. Put that in your brain. And not just that movie either. Do the Vin Diesel version too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so. You said it's so ridiculous. You could probably go there anyway.
You probably will.
For my categories, let's see here. Was that all your categories, or you have more? You have more.
Well, I do have like 3 more. This one you're going to understand this one real quick. This movie should probably be a legal award.
It probably okay. What's the criteria for the award?
It's just a movie that should be illegal.
Oh, well, I mean, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. I mean, that's real easy.
That's what I wrote. And then this one, Lifetime Achievement Award for being billed but barely in the movie.
Billed but okay. Well, that's Boris Karloff.
Boris Karloff and runner-up Bela Lugosi.
Yeah. Actually, I think he beat him out for that. Actually, yeah, definitely.
And then I don't care what you say. I have an award. They are just the best award.
So so this is Audrey Hepburn, let me guess, and Ingrid Bergman.
Exactly. We could not give my best girls awards. These are better than their Oscars.
Oh yeah, folks. It's like, if their families and estates are listening, you include this as part on their Wikipedia page. You have to include our awards as part of their Wikipedia page.
They are just the best.
You could. This is just because I tell you couldn't put them in there in the other awards. That's just, be honest. I know what you're talking about. Oh, grief gravy, man. All right. So my awards aren't nearly quite as entertaining, I don't think. At least I don't feel like they are. For me, let's see, I came up with best unintentional laugh. And I'll let you go first on this one.
Boy, what would I pick for that? And you know what? I'm gonna have to pass this one off to you real quick.
Dante's Inferno. The devil.
You know what? I was just thinking Dante's Inferno.
The devil jumping in to save somebody. You know, it's like instant humor. I don't think it was intentional either. But I'm not sure if it was or not. That's the thing. I don't know if it was intentional or not. Because the movie's it's not a ha-ha film.
Yeah, it's not a ha-ha film. But yeah, I was thinking it's got to be from Dante's Inferno, and then you said
sure enough. Of course, there's also like in my Get Ready for Weight Gain, that was War Between the Planets. You know, that just took me off guard a little bit. But in The Black Sleep, when he welcomes the guy into the house, and it's like, and there's instant screaming, and it's like, it reminded me of a joke. Have you ever seen the Romancing the Stone film and the sequel that it had?
I have not.
Okay, highly recommend, especially the first one. But in the second one, even though it's not as good, there's a joke there where the heroine is being, given a tour of the palace by the yet to be revealed to be bad guy, but it's totally obviously the bad guy person who he's invited into his home. And he's taking her through this palatial Middle Eastern style place, and all extravagancies. And then it's a terrible scream from like, ah! And there's a pause, and he says, "Cats." And it's like, and that's what that joke was. And it was almost like that was what that moment was like for me. The other category I had was the trippiest film. Which film was the trippiest?
A film that I don't think we've reviewed. Well, we've reviewed it, but it's not technically on our first season list.
Yeah, I know where you're going with that.
Yeah.
But if you can pick one from the first season, because if we go long enough, we'll have a second season, and we'll have to include it on that one. Maybe not. If you have different categories, maybe then too. I don't know. But yeah.
Trippiest film might be The Woman in the Window.
Trippy because
of the twist.
Okay.
And it continues kind of like you see a character continuously devolving. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's not so trippy itself, but like, it does twist you there at the end. I wanted to almost say Top Copy, but there's parts of Top Copy that it could have done better.
Yeah, Top Copy was one of mine.
There's also parts of Throne of Blood that are pretty trippy.
Yeah, actually, I didn't think of that, but yeah, I think you're right. There are parts of it that could. For me, like The Raven actually was pretty trippy. It's because it was trying to put the comedy in with the horror aspects, and it was just coming off in this very weird way. The Terror was just more of a straight up B movie, but Roger Corman does get some trippy credits from me just for trying to do his version of horror comedy, and seeing Jack Nicholson kind of mug for the camera too. There's a whole bunch of stuff in that movie that just came off as weird. Charade was another one that was kind of trippy.
There's parts of The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, because like there was points in that movie I was like, I'm not sure if this is real or not anymore.
Yeah.
I agree with what you just said too about Charade.
Yeah. It bends your brain. I think in trippy should include like bending your brain around two genres that don't necessarily feel like they should go together naturally. Yeah. But if you find a way to do that in an interesting way, I think that's possible. So yeah, those are my categories. Yeah. So. Here we have a bit of a nice bonus for you guys out there. We're going to do a review of a film. And the film is not part of the official, I guess, canon of Movie Bones canon because sadly, the internet is unfair and there's no free version of this movie possible. But this is one of my favorite films of all time, and Ryan had not seen it yet. And I desperately wanted to share this film on this podcast. So this is my big chance to share the film on the podcast with Ryan, even though it technically doesn't qualify because you can't get it for free. I do highly recommend it, and I will definitely say you won't be disappointed if you do go out and rent it or buy it in whatever format you like. But let's talk about it though. So we've got A Man for All Seasons. That's the film we're going to talk about. What did you think of this movie?
I liked it a whole lot. The movie, one of the good things about the movie is that it makes you think. And it makes you think because it's dealing with a legitimate historical event. It is about a man named Thomas More who opposed King Henry declaring himself Pope and also opposed his want desire, not need, but want and desire to divorce his wife, Anne Boleyn.
Yeah.
And everything.
Or was
And
Anne Boleyn the one, I think at the time, he was trying to marry Anne Boleyn. It was I think because they don't actually mention her name in the film, but it's like something, she was the princess from Spain, I think he married.
He's trying to divorce his first wife.
Yeah.
I think it's his first wife. And on moral grounds, he does not choose to, well, he doesn't choose to say things ever, but he also doesn't give his blessing. And it's this whole thing of like, why do you, like, even though King Henry is really only in the film for a scene of sorts, he's constantly wanting his blessing. And the reason why, and it's kind of a typical reason. It's like, why do you need his blessing so bad? Because he's the only one that will tell him the truth. Basically, King Henry knows he's doing wrong.
Yeah.
And the only way he can feel like he's doing right is if Thomas More says you're doing right, but he's not going to do that. And that's the issue with the whole film, is that everyone who is a lackey of sorts of King Henry is trying to get Thomas More to say yes. And he's like, the whole time he's going, no, I'm not going to do that. I want to just real quick, there's this other movie. It's a newer film. It's called The King, and it stars, I think it's The King. There's this line in that movie where basically it talks about how as a king, you don't have friends. Everyone has a agenda.
Yeah.
And whatnot. And like, it's very few, like you have very few friends. The same thing happens in this movie. The king has one actual friend. That one actual friend is Thomas More. And so he never gets his blessing. And that leads to, this is not a spoiler. This is history. That leads to Thomas More having to abdicate his life.
Yeah. First, to go through a series of losses too. He voluntarily gives up his office that the king gave him on recommendation of the previous office holder. It's the Lord Chancellor, I think, is the Chancellor's. It's that chain he wears around, the Chancellor's chain he wears around his neck. And what you said there earlier, really, it's one of the things that always struck me about the movie is that Henry wants so much of what More has, but he knows that he can't get it, and it's not enough just to be silent. He knows he needs, like you said, he needs the blessing from him. Even though he's renounced any kind of position, he knows that Thomas More is viewed as one of the few honest men in court, and that means more than any chain of office. And he comes to realize that, and the more he comes to realize that, is like he's willing to go and break what he respects, rather than just to let it go. Figure out what your kind of moral center is. What do you believe? Who are you? What is it that you believe in? And ultimately, there has to be something inside of us. And I do believe this personally too. There has to be something you believe, even if you don't believe in God per se. Even if you're not a theist of any kind, there's something you have to believe in that you'd be willing to die for, to be whole. I think you can't just be at the whims and mercy of the universe and the people around you and still be happy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. There's one thing I wrestled with, and that is, and I've wrestled with this for a while. I understand what Thomas More did, and I'm not against what Thomas More did. The only thing is and we've kind of discussed this I think I've discussed this one other time, is this whole, what does it mean to be morally upright when people around you start suffering for your decisions? And there was at one point in the movie where it was kind of could his family be in danger? And I'm like, if they didn't do anything, and I don't want them to suffer, and ultimately, what's going on here isn't the worst thing. The worst thing in the world. It is bad. I want to make that very clear. But I don't know. I was wondering if there would be a time where he did think maybe I should, because his family gets put in danger. It always brings this kind of moral conundrum when something like this does happen, because I do think that there is a responsibility to maintain oneself, but I also think there is this other side of me. It's I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to put my children, my wife, my son-in-law in danger like that, just so that I can pat myself on the back for morality. Especially with, especially one of the things in the movie makes very clear that his wife, she's not a bad person, but she doesn't really understand what's going on. She's not a very educated person.
Yeah. I think that it depends on what your conscience is telling you. I don't think and that's the thing, is what your conscience tells you is right and wrong. I think there's a point in the film where Thomas More even has to clarify something he said with the same words he just told Norfolk, is that it's more that I believe it. Not that I believe it, but that I believe it. And that is a conviction that he has. And it's like, it doesn't, the material bit that it is, you may not understand it per se. And a lot of the times in the world, you don't understand, especially when it comes to matters of faith. You don't understand what drives someone to be convicted of something. But to compel them, to try not to compel them to try to act against it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even if you don't totally understand, as long as everyone understands that it's like, well, I don't understand this particular belief but why would I compel this out of him when it's not like he's not doing anyone any harm? And even as he says, it's like, I do none harm, I think none harm. I am not harming anyone. It's like, I am not a threat to anyone. So why are you doing this to me? That's the part of us who is it's the most inmost part of ourselves, and if you do damage to that, I love how the film elevates that aspect of humanity. There is a part of ourselves that can be protected if we choose to. And there's also a part of it, and it's the same part that if we choose to disregard it, well, there's examples of that in the movie too. So I think it's more, for me, it's always been more about it's like a man and his conscience are connected intimately, and you do real violence to that person if you try to make him act against it, and I'm not saying that if he had given in, that it would have been like, I wouldn't have judged him for it because of the pressures he was under. But the fact that he didn't give in matters. I think that for those purposes, yeah, it's like, that's the bigger part of the story, I think, for me.
I understand that.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you what I'm afraid of. That when you've gone, I shall hate you for it.
You must. Listen. No.
And as for understanding, I understand that you're the best man that ever met or ever likely to. And if you go, well, God knows why, I suppose. There was God, my witness, God's kept deadly quiet about it. And if anyone wants to know my opinion of the king and his council, he only has to ask
for it. Why, it's a lion I married. A lion.
That scene always makes me cry, I have to say. I love their relationship in this movie. And they contrast each other so well,
Yeah. I mean, she's pretty, again, we've talked about her lack of education. And I think it's kind of beautifully put in this movie, or beautifully shown in this movie, because, like, it doesn't mean that she's dumb. She's a common person in that day and age who doesn't understand things because probably doesn't know how to read. She still loves him, and you could tell he does love her and everything.
Yeah. There's no disparity in the balance between them, despite that their skill levels are so mismatched in other ways. And the movie does a remarkable job of showing you what the kind of relationship could look like. I think there's a lot the movie has to say about, in terms of like how we understand things like the concepts of law, We're going to be watching a movie, and this, what we're listening to now, is going to be aired, is coming out before the first episode of the next season. But the first movie is A Trial, which is a Kafka film. It's existentialist. And the thoughts that kind of generated in that film about the law are very different than the kind of ones. It deals with a lot of the same things, doesn't it? But it's very differently handled.
Yeah.
Now you'd give the devil benefit of law.
Yes, what would you do? Cut a great road through the law to get after the devil?
Yes. I'd cut down every law in England to do that.
Oh? And when the last law was down and the devil turned round on you, where would you hide, Roper, the laws all being flat? This country is planted thick with laws from coast to coast, man's laws, not God's, and if you cut them down, and you're just the man to do it, do you really think you could stand upright in the winds that would blow then? Yes, I'd give the devil benefit of law for my own safety's sake.
I think it's a good lesson for that in us in these times too. It's like, people don't understand that before that the United States or anything like that had, there were concepts of, I guess you could say the Magna Carta tried to establish some things about law, which is why they're talking about these things in the first place in England at this time. But there was a time before all that where it was just like the king said it, and that was the law, and the man was the law, and that was it. He perfectly explains why you have to have the law as its own kind of thing that everyone agrees to abide by, and it's apart from the king or in this case, a president or anything, that you have to have that separate identity between the law and the person who executes the law.
They didn't have the law like we have the law. And oftentimes the law came down to just where we landed on the moral scale or where we landed on a what this person wants us to do scale.
Yeah.
Because that's the big issue in this story is like he has this moral law that he's following and everyone else has just what the king wants.
And that comes to a head at the end too.
Yeah. And why do they want it? Well, it's because they're getting positions of power and whatnot.
Yeah.
Our king has declared war on the Pope because the Pope will not declare that our queen is not his wife.
And is she?
Have I your word that what we say here is between us two?
Oh, very well.
And if the king should command you to repeat what I may say,
I should keep my word to you.
then what has become of your oath of obedience to the king?
You laid traps for me.
No. I show you the times.
Why do you insult me with this lawyer's chatter? This isn't Spain, you know. This is England.
What about the idea of like the fact that nothing can like that it's like that can't happen here. Nothing like what you're thinking about can happen here. You know, the idea of privilege that way.
No, but that's the thing is it definitely does happen here.
Yeah.
And I know what you're saying. Like in the movie, it says that can't happen here, but that's exactly what's happening in the film. Is that type of, you know, we're not worried about the actual what the law actually says. We're worried about what the king wants.
Yeah.
And everything. And then, you know, you're going to see it. You see it in all types of presidencies today, even though we're supposed to have checks and balances. You know, you see, well, what does the president want? Well, sometimes what the president wants does not equate to correctness.
Does not equate to the
and
law,
everything.
but the way
It
the
doesn't
law is
equate to
written.
the law and everything. But there is this famous saying from Napoleon Bonaparte who says, a man who's saving his country basically does not break the law. And it's like, yeah, that's not how that's supposed to be.
It's
just
not
because
how it works.
you're saying you're saving your country, but are you saving your country or are you just working
Are you
for
just
yourself?
saying that because it like gives you a get out of jail free card, you know, basically it's like if I
Yeah.
hit that button, it means all the constraints are off. And Napoleon, I think I saw something about that too. And I don't whether there's some dispute about whether Napoleon actually said it, but I know that one that Napoleon did, I think, say was "Lestat c'est moi," which is "I am the state."
Yeah.
Which is if he hadn't said the other one, he basically already said it in other ways. And but it's basically the same thing as like the rule of law and the rule of man are just incompatible. But what I also like about that too is like it shows you how behind people can be from what the events are that are going on the ground. Like Thomas More perceives that things are changing the undercurrents are changing. He feels it. You know, there's a sense of foreboding about the things that are changing. But he seems to be the only one who can see it and feel it at times. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And other people are kind of oblivious to it. Or the people that aren't oblivious to it are trying to say that, like I said, he should have Richard Rich arrested, you know, which is, you can't do that either. He was ahead of it, but he's also trying to not, I guess, he's aware of it, but he's not panicking. And that's another thing I love about it too, is like he never panics. He's never trying to beat them at their own game or something like that. He's very patiently waiting to see what happens. And he always has a great response to it too. I've noticed that too. And I think this is true of the man himself in real life, is that he had a very clever wit, but he knew how to use it. And I love how they convey that here.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm just agreeing with what you're saying.
Okay. It's like, listen, it's kind of elbow Ryan. It's like, it's your turn. The role of the common man, or at least I think it was his servant, Thomas More's servant in the film. It actually, he goes by the name of the common man in the play. Yeah. He actually takes on several different roles, not just the servant. But in the stage play in England, they had an ending where he plays the executioner with the hood on, and so you don't see it's him yet. And when after the beheading, he takes off the hood, revealing himself as the common man, and he says, "I'm breathing. Are you breathing too?" It's nice, isn't it? It isn't difficult. Yeah, it isn't difficult to keep alive, friends. Just don't make trouble. Or if you must make trouble, make the sort of trouble that's expected. Well, I don't need to tell you that. If we should bump into one another, recognize me. And I always kind of took that as kind of a warning to the audience too. It's like, who are you in this play? If the common man is often, I think if I'm correct, the common man is often used as a substitution for the audience. So it's kind of like, where are you in this story? Kind of a thing. And I thought that was a more interesting way to end the play. Although I understand why they couldn't do that for the film. It wouldn't quite have fit as well. But what do you think?
I think I like that speech. I think if you have to break the fourth wall with it, but I think it would have been. I think they could have done it. It works if you maybe start the film from the common man's perspective too. Like an intro kind of speech.
I'm kind of interested in reading the play version now. It's available for free on the Internet Archive. You can read it, available with notes and everything. So I guess if you're going to give verdicts, even though it's not official, can you guess? Guys, you know what it is.
Yeah.
You know what it is.
Yeah.
We don't have to tell you. So anyway, I guess that's our show, folks. This is our 1 year anniversary special. Please join us for season 2. We've got movies lined up already for it. We've got the trial coming up. Please do join us for those. And of course, watch them with us. We love having you along for the ride. I guess that's about it. And I guess, Ryan, I'll see you for the trial.
See you for the trial.
All right. Here we go.